everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Market Mindset, where we dig into the psychology behind the moves today so we can better understand tomorrow. And today we're going to be digging into the wonderful world of gold. Now, when it comes to the gold futures, they can be a little bit tricky sometimes, especially with low volume and a bunch of fundamental news coming out, and it can get a little bit nasty. And as we can see here from this big bull candle, all the wick on the top, big bursty candles out of a range, that's more indicative of a lot of volume coming in at one time and then going nowhere, right? We had this nice big gap down, big old gap down in the open, relatively decent bearishness, but having a hard time around that prior low of day. They paused for a little bit, and they got a nice breakdown. Unfortunately, that's about all they were able to get, though, because it completely fell apart. Sellers tried coming in again, they tried coming in again, they tried coming in again, and every single time they tried, they completely fell apart. Sellers were very likely trapped in underneath this one, and underneath this one, but most of them, probably underneath that one. Now, the fact that it went just underneath it and then rocketed right back up again shows that the sellers were not only trapped, but also getting whipped out, right? Their stops are going to be above the high here, or maybe, if they're really stubborn, above the overall high. And if that's the situation, the buyers who are shoving against the sellers in this case, if they get a big push and they get all of these traders whipped out, there's a good chance that you have a fairly good chance, at least, of doubling up this initial range of the day. So when we get this big breakout, that whipped out all of the sellers. Any sellers that were left who maybe didn't get out above this, or maybe didn't take the chance to try to get out near break even and just take a small loss, they paid the price because this happened afterward. Now, after that happens, we know the context of the situation. The sellers are trapped. The sellers are trapped. They're going to feel like they have to chase the market to get out, and that's going to cause them to mass buy, right? Sellers turn into buyers when they're exiting their positions, and that's where this big follow-through spike came from. Now, along with the sellers exiting, causing a big spike, you also have the buyers who see this move here in the context, and they buy into it thinking, man alive, look at that thing, we're going back up. So everybody turned into a buyer at the exact same place, and that's a beautiful place to become a buyer as well, to drive the market up into resistance. Now, they made another attempt at the highs. They were only able to go one tick through the high before catching a big failure to the downside. But what do we know already? The sellers are trapped, right? This isn't very likely going to be a reversal. The best that the sellers are going to be able to do, maybe get out of break even if they're lucky, right? And in this case, it couldn't even come that far down before catching a very weak bear follow through, a double bottom on that trap from earlier, and immediately rocket shipped back up. So a beautiful buy opportunity to push the market back up towards the highs and just retest that area. You've got moving average resistance, you have the prior highs all in there. Really nice place to look for a profit target. They push back up again, another high side failure. You have a high failure here, high failure here, high failure here, and guess what? One more just for good measure before they turn back down. And that's after a huge bull candle. So very likely the buyers are giving up and the sellers are swarming back in. And that allows for the sell opportunity coming off of resistance, coming off of major highs. Even if this is a range, we just failed to break out of the high. Where are we going? The other side of the range. So a really nice sell opportunity to finish off the move back to the downside. So just a gorgeous run through of gold today. Even though it was a little bit whippy, there was a bunch of weird stuff going on in terms of movement. As long as you were paying attention to what was happening, you did just fine. And that's going to do it for this one. Make sure to make that plan, trade the plan, stick to those rules, and you will be all right in the end. If you have any questions about it, you can always send me an email, jbrink@slingshotfutures.com. And until next time, we'll talk to y'all later.